Jesse's.
There's Jesse.
Welcome, Jesse.
There's Jesse.
It is time, and I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting, meeting night. As we start talking about meetings, there are a couple of announcements I want to make. Number one, I'd like to welcome our two new council members, Ms. Linda McClain, Ms. Jessie Bunny. Ms. McClain will be chairing our, apologies for that, Ms. McClain will be chairing our Community Development Committee, and she will also be sitting on the PRT and Finance Committee. We'll be chairing our Public Sanitation Committee, and we'll be sitting on the Community Development Committee and the Finance Committee. So both of you, welcome. This night, it's good to see so many people here who listen to financial information. But as we all know, finances really make the city work. We'll have a couple of committee meetings in advance, one of which will involve presenting the audit. The audit is for the, was it for the 2023-2024 year offered by the previous council in June 2023. But it still serves as a very instructive for us, and our audit for the 2024-2025 budget will be in December of this year. Is that correct? And so this is great. This is an opportunity to, we've heard a lot of, I'm really excited about this audit discussion. And I see the auditor smiling like, man, that's like, how many times have I ever heard that? But this is a good opportunity to get to the facts on what Walhalla has done. We've had a lot of rumors here that the city doesn't have any money, the city is, and so forth. And we'll be anxious to dig to that and see where we were as of the end of this fiscal year, so, for the last fiscal year. Without any further ado, I would like to begin with the fire, and where's that agenda? Let's see. Well, I'd like to have a moment of silence, please. All right. Mr. Hall, would you lead us in pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next one, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Is there a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a little discussion. In light of Mr. Ernie Hinkle's request to have a utility committee meeting and the proclamation he sent to us, I think it is only fair that we would have that meeting. Now, I know it has not been announced, but we need to have that meeting. When the utility director says it is serious, and he wants to have a meeting of us, I think I know we need to make ourselves available to him and have that meeting. So I would hope that that meeting would shortly be called by the chairman of that committee, Mr. Johns, or I'm on that committee, majority of that. So that's what I'm saying. Why isn't that on the agenda?
Is that a motion, Mr.
I
Chairman?
don't know. It's discussion.
Discussion.
Everything in good time. Everything in good time.
Okay, hearing no any additional discussion. Okay, all those in favor of the agenda as it currently stands, please signify by raising your hand. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1. All right. All right. Public committee meeting, Mr. King, take it away.
Yes, okay. And, oh, here. Would Chief Sanford, would you join us for this, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And refresh my memory, who all in the Public Safety Committee with me?
Ms. Menendez and, oh, no, Ms. Bunny's not on public safety. Mr. John on public safety.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
We've switched many times, I can't get up there.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Miles, is that correct?
I will double check, but yes.
Okay. I do believe so.
Okay. In light of what we've seen, the county cancel the fire contract, and we've been talking about the budget and what that means, $150,000 automatically deducted from the budget that we have. So we've gone over this today, talked about this, and the position that puts us in to provide fire protection for the city of Walhalla is great, let alone for the around Walhalla. And at minimum, we're going to be presented with a budget that gives figures that would cut, it was said, personnel by 2. It's a chance, we have a choice.
It's
What-
an option, yes. It
Right.
is not in what you will see tonight. It's listed as an option.
Okay. And what I was interested in is the ISO rating, let alone just safety. With the ISO rating, can you explain that? Because you're going to explain that better than me, to what the ISO rating is.
The ISO rating now, we are at 228. It's based off of our call volume, off of manpower, off of CRR stuff that we do, the water plant, more stuff. At the current time, we do have a 2. We had an evaluation this past fall. We almost dropped to a 3 because of manpower. He said, in the future, if we do another one, we're gonna have to add at least one more person per shift. We would, then if we do that, the next evaluation would be a 3. We would, or if we don't add people, we're probably a 3.
And what is the ISO?
That's the insurance. That's what they go off of for people's homeowner insurance. Insurance to buildings and stuff throughout the city.
Okay. So if we read a 2, which is a very good rating.
Yes, sir.
Is that not right?
Yes.
Okay. In county, generally, the rating is,
The count, and it goes off of Oconee County rating, it is a 4.
it's a 4.
Yes.
Did
We
you?
are contracted to cover, it does not go off of our ISO. It goes off of the county's ISO.
Goes off the county, so.
Yes.
Okay, so inside the city, so now what you're saying is that we have, you're up how many times, once a year? How often do they, on if we're doing everything to get that rating right?
He said the other day, when he came last time, it would probably be 2 years, I think, before we have another evaluation.
2 years, okay.
2 to 3, depending upon how often we want to do it.
So,
Because the last one that was done, it had been several years since we've done one.
Okay.
ISO rating.
and what you just said, now we have the microphone, thank you,
Yes.
Kenny. And now that we have the microphone, what you're saying is that he almost changed ours to a 3, now,
Yes,
that's what he said.
yes.
With the implication, if you don't get more personnel,
We will drop.
we will drop.
Yes.
And drop insurance rates, homeowners' insurance rates will go up.
I would think so, yes. I'm not an insurance salesman, but I would think they would go up.
At some point in time, I heard that someone thought that they could even possibly double. Wasn't that an insurance man that how did that come? Maybe it was through Megan. Megan, do you remember that?
There were several comments made by a local insurance agent on several of the county officials' Facebook posts that stated insurance could almost double, if not more than double.
By changing, just going from an ISO 2 to an ISO 3.
To a 3 or a 4, depending on the area you're located in. If we went to a 3, the outskirts of the city were going to a 4 because they would be covered under Oconee counties. And
Okay.
at that point, their insurance adjusters would have to take that into account, and they would go from there. And these people would not see these changes or the implications that occur until their policy renews.
So that's just the effect it has to the residents' pocketbooks. Now, as far as, would you explain a little bit? I know you've talked about this, I understand this, but you're the expert, it comes better. Would you explain to us how big a department basically be to provide 24/7 coverage?
How big the department needs to be
Like
now?
how many personnel, Chair?
Yeah, how many
Well, we're
percent?
at 3 per shift now, and the ISO guy said we need to add at least one more.
One
So
more
that would be
per
4
shift.
people per shift.
Right. Now, with 3 people per shift, we keep 24/7 coverage.
Yes,
We do that.
yes.
We may lose, even with that, if we stay like we are, we may still lose an ISO rating, but we're still protected for providing round-the-clock service.
Yes, even if we lose a person per shift, we're still have 24/7 coverage.
And we have how many people in our department?
There's 9 full-time, we have the fire marshal, myself, and a code official, so, is that 12?
So is that about bare minimum?
But
to
the
have-
code official is not considered a fireman.
Okay.
That does not count, that position is
Okay.
nothing for firefighting purposes.
So if we had round-the-clock, we would need minimum, regardless of the ISO, minimum of how many firefighters?
4.
4 firefighters.
Yes, to continue with the ISO stuff, yes. For all what ISO says, yes, we need at least 4.
No, I mean, how many in the fire department?
To continue working,
How many men working in the fire department, firefighters, would you need to continue to offer 24/7 fire coverage? Well, I'm not saying to meet the ISO. We know you need 4 shifts, and that's 4 shifts,
no, we have 3 shifts,
3 shifts.
yes,
So 3, so that's 12
yes,
at minimum to maintain the ISO.
yes.
But let's just say to cover the city, regardless, these are gonna go up, but to just cover the city so that we have fire coverage 24/7, how many men is the minimum?
At least 2, but we have 3 now, I would say we need to keep 3, but if we lose one, then
So 9.
we're gonna have to do it with 2 people.
We would have to do it with 2 people on every,
I mean, if we lose one, that's what we're gonna be doing.
That's right.
We're gonna be doing it with 2 people, so,
look, at 6 people,
which is gonna be kinda hard on,
right?
I mean, we can do it, but it's gonna be hard on us as far as people getting hurt, because when there's only 2 there, somebody's gonna be, we can build comp time like crazy, people coming back. They have to take time off, so they're not the person per shift. And you can't really run it 1 person per shift, because when we go to a structure fire, you're supposed to have 2 in, 2 out.
Okay. So Mike,
Mr. Chair, can you, just so I can make sure I understand,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just taking notes here, so we will need a total, we have 12 personnel as fire department, is that correct? We're gonna need
11,
11,
yes.
so we're gonna need,
We have 9 on shift, and then we have me and the fire marshal Monday through Friday.
so when you say 4, you mean like add one more than the 3, you're gonna add another one, so.
We'll eventually, yes, if we need to eventually, yes.
So that would give us a total number of
12 firemen, yes.
12 firemen.
12 firemen.
To make the ISO, we'll have 9 to make it doable, but we lose the ISO with the next rating. We have to just do it and run these guys crazy would be 6.
Yes.
Okay. But now, my point is this, that we have need for a full-time fire service, financially and safety-wise.
Yes.
But not only do we have need for that, currently, we are covering from, give me the outside areas that we cover.
We cover, in the county area,
Right,
we
Outside of
cover
the
40
city
square
wall?
miles in the
right,
county.
from farthest to farthest,
We go from highway at 183 bridge to the bridge on 183 on this side of Westminster at Barker Drive is the closest cross street at the creek crossing there. We go from Highway 11 to Ivy Creek, all 11 to Highway 28 bridge, and then we go all the way to the foot of the Stumphouse Mountain, we cover the bike park, Ellen Ranch Falls, we go up Coffee Road to Five Forks.
What is that
Picket
equivalent
post
to?
to, almost what?
almost a mile, well, we can picture this, this is a big area.
Yeah.
Which our 4 square miles, is that what Walhalla is? Our 4 square miles is just a fraction
Yes.
of this period. So if the county was to cover this like we cover it 24/7, they would need at minimum a fire department of our size.
I would say so, yes. Yes. I mean, 3 people on shift, and then we have a very dedicated staff that comes back and helps when they're off. If it wasn't for people coming back when they're off, then we probably wouldn't be able to do it.
So since the
They're
county,
coming in the back, all the people that come back.
so since the county, we know that West Union was coming to put a station in. But a station that can cover what we cover is gonna be a station our size.
To my understanding, they're supposed to put 3 people at West Union and 3 people at, they already have, I think, 3 people at Camp Road.
Okay, 2 to 3 people there and 3 people there.
Yeah.
That doesn't cover what 9 firefighters do out here.
Mm-hmm.
Not even, can't even run the clock on that, let alone an ISO rating.
Yes.
So my point is, there is reason where the county would want us to continue. Financially for them and safety-wise for the county residents. There is the same for us, financially and safety reasons. I think we demonstrated it, but there's a lot more that can be said because we've gone through it before. Since that is the case, and there's interest in both, what I'm going to ask, and this would be my motion, to ask, let's ask our council to make a motion here to ask our council to accept Matthew Durham's offer a year ago, if the county will accept it at this point, to go and sit before them as a council, our council sitting with their council, to discuss this very thing and to find a way, however they think, we come before, have ideas, they have ideas, the 2 councils, to discuss a manner in which we can solve this thing, that they can be covered and that we can be covered mutually. And that's what my motion. Would anybody second that motion to ask our council?
So you're saying recently sit down with county council, right?
Yes, sir.
So my understanding is, in the past, we've run first call, we don't need to be running first call to Salem. Salem's got their own fire department, QEQ's got their own department, we don't need to be running first call to Salem.
Part of our county contract now, we have the mobile air truck. If anybody in Oconee County calls for it, we have to take it. It went to Salem the other night for a construction project.
So it was based on the contracts.
The contract we have now with Oconee County.
Yeah.
Like the ladder truck that's out of service that's in Alabama. If they call for it anywhere in the county, we have to take it. Now, the way it is. That's part of the contract now.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Mr. Sanford, when you were mentioning the number of firefighters, we also have, is it 5 volunteers?
Roughly, yes, when they show up.
So we don't usually factor those into our response?
No.
Okay. On the ISO thing, I respect the Facebook post, I see a lot on Facebook, but I've heard from, I believe your predecessor, others involved it, and I don't know it, but I want to find out, facts, is below ISO 4, has, according to these folks that told me this, and again, I don't know this for sure, and I'm not presenting this sure, there's no impact on insurance rates. And I would like to ask that Ms. Myers, reach out to a insurance agent, and let's find out, if we're gonna act on something, let's find out what's at stake right now, and have Ms. Myers research this, and let's find out the difference.
Okay.
Is it true that below 4, I mean, like, again, the Facebook post, I got you, man, I'm sure it was a reputable person, and I respect that. But I'd like to find out from our insurance agent, from someone, directly and professionally, how much of an impact going from ISO to ISO 3, for example, would have on the citizens.
Okay.
More to the point, I am also concerned about a shortage of being able to provide full-time service. That's something that I have discussed, we've discussed internally a little bit, and that is a concern. The county, a couple of other things here, they told me when I got the call that this was going to be discontinued, that West Union had leased their fire department for $1 a year. And then they had 9 people trained up to, I assume, to serve like West Union. That's something else I had to clarify. Those 9 people they mentioned were trained up with FEMA money that they had received for Hurricane Helene. So it would be good to know if they've got 9 additional people, as I understood, I may have understood wrong, let's find out for sure.
Okay.
Then that would be a different scenario. The county, I received a call, and Chairman Durham was gracious enough to call me a couple of days before. I've been in frequent contact with him since that meeting that you mentioned, Mr. Keegan. He said he would be willing additional funding, and we have tried for a while. He has tried. Administrator Amanda Brock has tried. They have beginning of a year ago, over a year ago, and to find additional funding for us, even in ways that did not mean increasing the fire contract, but indirect ways, which I really appreciate. This year, according to both of them, they're operating on as we are, on an extremely tight. A number of factors, including, I understand, the number of folks paying property taxes has dropped to 4% because of growth. People are moving into their vacation homes. So I don't believe, unless they are, and I do not believe they're telling me the tale. I believe that they are telling me the truth, that they don't have any additional money to provide us this year for a fire contract. I think that this is something that if they're not being accurate, then that's another discussion. But I will place faith in what they've said. I think that we are going to find a way for the upcoming fiscal year to provide the adequate fire service that our citizens need. I don't know that it's in, at this point, it may or may not be insurance costs. We don't know. We're going to find out for sure. But it is a matter of providing service where if 2 of you are going to fire and there's not 3 people there and you're going into a building, then that has an impact on you, right? There's not a third to take care of you. And that's a safety issue for all of you. And
Yes.
and I think that's kind of where I look at it. I know the city of Walhalla has a first-class fire and EMS response, and we're really lucky to have you guys on board. But I think that there's the core of this really to me is the safety issue. I think that we're going to have. We'll find out facts. We'll find out more facts. Please find out and get to sum this up for fact finding. Ms. Myers is going to find from an insurance agent a professional opinion on the impact of going from 2 to 3. So that's fine. And Terry, I'd ask if you would, or Chief Sanford, I'd ask if you would confer with the county how many people they're putting in West Union, because get that right, because the folks in that area here they're only getting 3, and if indeed the case, then there's, as Mr. King mentioned, there may be indeed cause for concern if they're getting 9, if I understood correctly, or something to that effect, then there may be less call for concern. So let's get these facts straight and let's go back.
So if I'm hearing you right, because we're afraid to be told no, we're not gonna ask.
No, you're right.
Okay, explain it to me then.
Let me explain it again. I've spoken with the chairman, I've spoken with the county administrator repeatedly. They do not have money, so they've said no. I've heard no from them several times, as has Ms. Myers. So, afraid to be told no? No. We've already been told no. I'm afraid to be seen as beating a dead horse, and that can often have a counterproductive approach.
If you're not getting any money, what's counterproductive at this point?
We'll keep asking them if they're not telling the truth, then we've got another issue. I think then we start talking about writing a joint letter of concern to the council and asking why they were withholding, causing all of this turmoil when they actually had it.
Well, when you spin it like that makes it sound like they're bad guys, and I don't bad guys.
There's no, that's direct. I mean, that's what they've told me. That's a fact.
He asked us right in this council, sitting in the other council chamber, he sat right in front of us, and I said, if do you meet like that? And he said that could be arranged. It was a year ago,
April 24, I believe.
And-
it was mine.
and it wasn't. We did not act on it. And it went by. I say, still today, when you sit and as a council, and you talk to another council, and you don't go through the intermediaries, and it's all right out there in the open, and you say, we're in bad shape. Do they care about what happens in the city? Yes, these are good men. And you just let them know the situation you're in, and you explain the situation that anything that we can do with us sitting right there in front of them, coming humbly to talk to them, I think you will see, because we've been invited to this, and actually we've been invited twice. And yet, we did nothing. I know that you went and talked to them on your own, but that's not the agreement that he agreed, that he asked us for. I asked him and he agreed that could happen. Right there in front of everybody.
I spoke to him on multiple occasions, Mr. Keene, and I don't think his response to me would be any different if I was here, or all 6 of us, or 7 of us were there. They don't have the money. They don't have it. It's not there. It wasn't there last year when my buyers and I tried it. It's not there this year. If they're not being honest with us about not having the money, that's a different issue. But I do not believe they're not being honest and straightforward with us that they don't have the money. That's why they cut this contract out to begin with, because they could save $108,000 because they're looking for money. That's the whole issue.
No, that's not the issue. That, as far as Dan, when you were in the fire department and he told you personally, it was because the city takes money and wastes it on frivolous things, and why are we gonna give you money when you waste it on frivolous things? If we could show and let them set the parameter, not waste it on frivolous things, this would be a whole new conversation. So let us sit before them and let them know, what do you need to see from us? But if you don't want to talk about it, I understand you don't want to talk about it, but I don't mind being humble and humble myself to them and asking for my neighbors, for my family, for the community around, because we know they are not going to be able to provide out of West Union the service that our station provides. And we can't provide it. We can't provide it without them, and they can't provide it without us. They're in the driver's seat, but they certainly know this, and they're going to find it out. If they don't know it yet, they'll find it out once they start doing it. I think if we go, these are good men. I know these men. If we go and we sit before them humbly, I think we'll come to a solution. But you're never going to find out. It's like Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I'm like, let's take the shot. Let's do it the way that we agreed over a year ago that he offered. He opened the door to us for a year. Let's finally do it. So that's my motion.
Mr. Chair.
Do I have a second?
Before, yeah. I have some comments and a question, Mr. Chair. Can we have
Yes,
the
ma'am.
opportunity to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to go first, or? Okay.
Mr. McClain, it's not on your committee.
Yeah, that's fine. Now, go ahead.
And then I have
My comment is this: if this happened last year, and they were actually doing the last year, or they were looking for the budget for this year, okay? If they agreed to have a sit-down last year, we didn't have the sit-down.
We didn't.
We didn't have a sit-down. But numerous times, the city administrator, the mayor have both gone on numerous occasions to them asking for this to be revisited. If they say they don't have the money. And I think, as you say, humbling ourselves is it's inappropriate. We're not humbling ourselves. We're going to them saying we don't believe they don't have the money. And I think that would be a grave error on our part.
Now, only thing I know, we know that Mr. Hall said that. That's all I know, is that Mr. Hall.
I believe what he says.
Well, you can. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the question that I have is for our new fire chief. How long have you been the fire chief in Walhalla?
For the city,
Yes,
since February 20th
of this year.
this year.
Okay, so February February 20th of this year. I want to acknowledge that as it looks like, obviously how you mentioned, Chair, about this conversation a year ago. We're talking to a fire chief that was not in that position, okay? So we understand that leadership, you inherited an issue, pretty much,
Yes.
chief,
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
So how long have you been in the fire department?
In the fire department?
Yeah.
Since 2008,
2008?
yes.
That's the year I graduated from high school, so go Razorbacks. So that's been at least 16 years,
Yes, ma'am.
15 or 16. Okay, this goes back to experience, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we honor the experience, but you're also now in a position of leadership, which is your new fire chief since February, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So just to put that in context, because it's important that our new members are aware, as well as the public audience, because public safety should be everybody's business, and that's why we're having a conversation. But I think what I'm hearing from this body is a lot of he said, she said, and if we really want to be transparent, why don't we direct our manager or city staff to go back on the record and look for those minutes and those notes of those discussions, for it to be fair? So we can have that. Do you have that right now, Mr. Chair?
Oh, I think we all remember that.
Do you
We were
have-
all here. when
I
Nancy
understand
Durham-
that, but requesting is, we need those, is if it's on the record and it was on the chamber conversation, we should have minutes that report that.
Well, who here remembers it? I was in the room.
I understand, but what I'm saying is, just to be fair, we should have those in front of us so we can make sure that we're reading credible information that happened in discussion. Because what I hear right now, I mean, if it's fair, is he said, she said, and I think if we want to validate what we're listening is, why don't we just ask the city staff to do the research and bring that back, and then we get as an order. I mean, let's be fair, our fire chief just started in February, and we're asking him a lot more things where he did not have the authority to do as a former, with our former fire chief that for unforeseen circumstances no longer with us. So I think we're asking our body to conduct ourselves professionally, but also respect the channelization that we direct our staff to do. So that was the question. Thank you for letting me ask. How long have you been a fire chief? You stated February of this year,
Yes, ma'am.
March, April, so less than 3 months.
Yes, ma'am.
And you inherit a problem that has been in this conversation that was referenced a year ago, when you were not a fire chief, correct?
Yes, I was on, yes.
Yes.
I found out about a month ago.
Okay.
About losing my contract.
And now we're facing budget conversations and the fact that there's this public safety cry because we are looking at potentially not having the support of the county, which has already been addressed, right? They said no, $250,000 for the contract.
To my understanding, yes. What?
Right, so I think if we do this, Mr. Chairman, I think we need to do it in process and communication so it can reflect that. So, requesting a meeting right now with county council, that takes coordination, and who's gonna lead that, and all that didn't
I'll
happen.
lead it, I'll make a call to Matthew this evening, and we'll arrange it if that's what needs to be.
And you guarantee that we're gonna get?
No, I'll ask him, because he already offered, and so I'll just ask him, is the offer still good? And he'll say, let me check, and we'll have, it's gotta happen fast. Our budget is such, their budget is such, it has to happen right away. If you don't wanna do it, fine, don't speak. But please, when you give me the runaround, everybody sees, it's the runaround, you don't wanna do it, just say you don't wanna do it.
I think everybody here this is very critical. Public safety is everybody's business, and your committee that currently chair, myself and Mr. Kenny John is on the committee, can agree on that. You know what I mean? That public safety is a pressing issue and is supposed to be addressed.
Our priority is citizens inside the city of Walhalla. And we also have secondary to citizens outside the city. Our priority is citizens inside. They pay the taxes, pay the bills.
I would add something too, just you jogged my memory this morning, because I agree we should always seek out facts. And my recollection of the meeting when Mr. Durham appeared was that Mr. King asked him if we could come before him. He did not come to make an invitation.
No, you didn't, you're right.
That's correct.
That's exactly how it is. I'm sorry if you understood it any differently. I asked him, do you think we could have a meeting doing this?
Well, you
And he
said
goes,
that.
I think that would be fine.
You said it
We
different.
can arrange it.
You said he came to give us an if I remember correctly.
No, I remembered wrong. If I said that, then I misspoke, but I don't believe so, because that night didn't happen that way. So at any rate, the motion is made, if I don't have a second.
Can you state your motion again?
My
please?
motion is that we, as a public safety committee, would recommend to the full council to arrange a meeting, if both agreeable with county council, to meet face-to-face with them in their council chamber discuss our situation with fire.
So what I hear you say is to have our form of government write a request letter to meet with the county council form of government and have a discussion.
I don't care about a letter, it's gonna have to be our council into it.
Right,
So we're
that's
just
why-
recommending to the full council that we think this would be a good idea to meet with them to discuss the fire contract. That's all it is, and no others have to be involved.
Just the elected official, not any staff members, we're not gonna include our city manager.
Well, it's a
county
public,
manager.
no, I mean, that's fine, we would, because we want, record of everything, and she can answer questions for us. But it's basically us sitting there in their council chamber, it's a council meeting. It's just a council meeting with us sitting in the council meeting to discuss this very thing.
That's a very unique approach. I've never encountered that in my 5 years of
Perhaps
experience.
that's why we're in the problems we're in.
But I don't know, and I think if you're asking your committee, is that what you're asking?
I'm asking for a second.
Mr. Johns, you have experience in government. I mean, I'm trying to understand the logic after we already heard no
I
from the county.
don't like motion number one,
Okay,
at all. Sorry.
Okay, so I don't have a second on you, and I don't have a second on you. Is that right, Ms. Melendez?
well, it sounds like the motion is unclear. And I don't feel comfortable on second motion that we still don't know how this is gonna be navigated.
Is
Mr. Chair,
that-
this is the first time I've ever heard something that our council is meeting with the county council. I mean, we can meet them individually, but, and one thing is, what you're requesting is almost, I don't know,
Is it yes or a no? Are you gonna second the motion or not?
are you gonna be more clear in your motion? You're gonna request for more clarity?
I make a, that we recommend to our council,
To the full council?
full council, to meet with the county council about the issue of fire in Walhalla.
That is still vague. The issue, are you specifically talking about the $550,000 contract? I mean, you gotta be
It's
clear in your
to
motion.
solve our issue of fire, to solve our problem.
Have you
we
read this
don't
by
have
the fire
money.
chief?
We
Yes.
don't have money to fund our fire department as it needs to be funded anymore. You're gonna see that when you get the budget, when we go in there.
What
I'm
was
trying
the-
to solve that problem. Yes or no, please, say this.
I can't say something that's.
Okay, very good, thank you. Thank you, Chief. Mr. Mayor?
We have,
Well, you got one more item on your
Yeah.
agenda, Mr.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
Other updates?
My apologies.
I'm sorry.
I received some information from, Ms. Brock that the Oklahoma County Council is reviewing tonight at their meeting, and I wanted to present it before y'all. They are,
which form are you referring, Ms. Myers?
it says May 6, 26
This one?
agenda item summary at the very top. It should be the first thing in your stack. The county is proposing that they transfer a couple of pieces of equipment to us, one being the 2003 quality fire apparatus engine type A breathing air compressor. After talking with chief and finding out that it is out of operation, I did reach back out and did confirm that it would be repaired before by one, assuming everyone agrees and this is approved. And then the ladder truck, as a lease, no cost for them to maintain the maintenance on it. This is for your review. Like I said, their council is considering this tonight, and their council, I did pass this along to Chief Sanford as well. Based on his comments with the air compressor, we do want to make sure that that is, fixed before we accept that as a donation. But this is
is just for your review, and if you would like to make a recommendation, then I'd appreciate it. You do not have to make a recommendation tonight.
Steve,
I will add, this is the result of Ms. Outreach and with the county midnight.
Yes,
The,
Mike, you wanna-
yeah, the one you showed me the other day. Yeah, I talked to the, county logistics officer today.
Speak on the mic, Fire Chief, just so
I talked to the county logistics officer today. He told me that the, part for the air compressor is coming on the slow burner, so they should be fixed, hopefully soon.
So you're fine with this one?
Yes, this is, I mean, it would be good for us because we get to keep the ladder truck. We need the ladder truck for house. And then the, older engine, we've had it ever since it was new and it's had a few repairs, but it's still a good truck.
And this all in lights with the recent change in the fire contract with the city of Walhalla.
Yes,
This is business that he's doing.
yes, this is the stuff that they have provided us through the years.
Okay.
And they're offering it to us now. They're going to give us the brush truck, let us.
This, like the old car and the breathing apparatus machine that we have and then the big ladder. Well, they're not gonna give us a ladder truck, we're just being on loan for 5 years.
Right, they're giving us one fire truck, a breathing apparatus machine, and taking over letting us keep the
Ladder truck.
ladder truck, provide maintenance for us, so that's not a maintenance cost to us.
Yeah, well, we haven't done any maintenance on the ladder truck, it's on the county. They took care of
They
it.
will continue doing
Yeah.
that. Got it.
We'll just have to pick up the maintenance on the old fire truck now, where they paid for it in the past.
Okay. And this is a result of them looking to see whatever they can do for us
Yes.
as part of our outreach.
Yes. Yes, sir.
As far as what efforts do you need us from this, just an informational?
If you would like to, as a committee, make a recommendation to the full council, you may. If you would like for it to just be information, that is fine, and we're not put it on the full council agenda. Obviously, county council has to approve this as well, but they would want to know if we would accept it.
Well,
I'll
since
defer to the
that's the
chair.
case, we're dependent upon them anyhow. Why don't we just let them do what they decide and put it on the agenda for the full council when you have that? Thank you.
All right, Mr. King, anything else with your committee?
That will be that. Thank you.
All right, let's transition to general government. Ms. Myers, you wanted to discuss a matter of office rental. Well, the general government office rental?
I'm sorry. I guess some of the firefighters want to see something. Is that all right if I reclaim the time and let them speak? I'm sorry, guys. I neglected.
Some of you know me already, some of you do not. My name is Walhalla. So, I'm concerned with this contract being pulled. So, my name is All Firefighter. I've been with Walhalla for 2 years now. As an employee of the city, I am aware of the contract with the county being withdrawn, causing a large sum of the fire department budget being cut. And I'd like to voice my opinions regarding the county contract being withdrawn, but affects my job directly and my peers. My main focus is the citizens, not just in the city, but outside the city, that are right on the skirts of the city limits. Because you're talking about an EA from 5 minutes from us to 10 to 12 minutes from them coming from Camp Road. So we need to think about them as well. That's my family. That could be some of y'all's family. And it's not a matter of if, but when. Not if there's an emergency, but when. I'm concerned with the plan of action from Walhalla to come in the next few weeks, months, maybe the next year, and the years to come. I cannot provide input on how to obtain the money that we need, but again, I speak on behalf of the employees of Walhalla Fire Department. I joined Walhalla when we were a two-man shift, and I witnessed firsthand the exhausting efforts and effects of being a two-man shift. I remember having to pull multiple 48-hour shifts, and sometimes even 56 hours. Then adding training on my days off, resulting in exhaustion, irritability, and a loss of family time, which is very important in my opinion, and time to unwind from the daily stresses of the job. I I remember how quickly the overtime budget would be used up. We had a very minimum overtime budget. And when that would use up, we would have to accrue comp time. And the comp time is great, but with a two-man shift, you don't get to use it. Because myself and others can't use the comp time that is earned because of the coverage of trying to cover the end that, is wanting to take time off. There are many days when myself and others would end up working a one-man shift because of not having coverage. And I have accrued over 500 hours of comp time. And I know other employees have as well. And there's records of that as well and written down in our books. The problem with having 500 hours of comp time is that it's mandatory for us to take time off, but then someone else has to not take off. When that happens, that person ends up accruing a high amount of comp time. Then everyone in the department has 400 or 500 hours of comp time, but we can't take it off. The fire department is not a career that you want a one-man shift. We run calls from cardiac arrest, motor vehicle accidents, structure fires, altered mental status, lift assist, and many more that put us at injuries if done with 2 personnel, let alone 1. There are many times that we respond to 2 calls of service at the same time, and we have to split in order to cover both of those calls. And I, for one, want to be one of those personnel that is by myself on those calls, let alone my Walhalla. We need each and every one of our firemen to maintain the manpower needed for the tasks that we are called for. Keeping a 3-man shift reduces the time that we work by allowing us to take the time off, the comp time that we earn, and still maintain a 2-man shift. It allows us to have the needed family time and unwind time that we need to function at our best. It also allows us to provide the optimum amount of care to the citizens of Walhalla because we have 2 to 3-man shift each time. Because responding to a cardiac arrest with 1 personnel because someone else needed time off really reduced that citizen, that patient's chances of survival. But if we can maintain that 3-man shift, then you have 2 men always there, at the least. At the most, you have 3. And the workload of a cardiac arrest between chest compressions, ventilations, and placing an AED, it's all divided. So the chances of survival increases a ton. It allows for quicker treatment and less fatigue, resulting in better chances of survival of the patient. And on a personal note, how many people do you want responding to your family or to you, especially if you live right on the outskirts of the limit? And to finish this up, I also want to express the need for training and classes to learn and maintain the needed skills to proficiently mitigate emergencies that we respond to. And 3 personnel on shifts gives us that opportunity to take the classes. If we start cutting people at Walhalla and we go back to a 2-man shift, then we're not going to be able to get those classes that we need and efficiently respond to their needs. I know changes will have to be made if the contract is not dealt with, and I just hope that the committee and city council will take my concerns to heart and the safety of all those in our community and just outside the skirts of our community, and not make cuts to Walhalla Fire Department's employees. And I urge the city council to reach out to county council to ratify the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, boss.
Mr. Chastain, one question for you.
Yes.
I'm just curious about this. The county come through with, as they said, the number, we're checking on that, the number of firefighters that we've seen. What's the response time from West Union? You said it was like 9 to 12 from Camp Oak, but how far would it be from West Union to the area that you're talking about?
If West Union was to respond, it depends on what they're responding to. So the numbers that I'm coming up with is from Walhalla responding to Camp Road, which is down on the other end of Coffee Road. So, near Five Forks. So our response time, by the time we get in a truck and we go en route and we get there, you're looking at about a 10 to 12 minute response time. Now, I don't sending West Union to a call that is on the west side of town. They're going to send Camp Road. And because West Union is going to be there to cover the West Union side of the county. And Camp Road is gonna cover the Walhalla side. So I see Walhalla or Camp Road responding to calls, and that's not counting the calls that's in the Post District and Station 14's district. They're gonna be responding to those, and that's, again, right on the outside of Walhalla, and then you're looking at a little bit longer TA.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Austin. Was there anybody else?
Thanks, Sheriff, BCF, Walhalla Fire. I'm following along with Austin on what he said. I'm concerned for the folks outside this district, just as much as I'm concerned for the folks in this district. Avalon Drive, the other day, we had a structure fire on Avalon Drive, it's just outside the city. Our folks responded. They had a 5-minute and 40-second response time to that, on scene, had the structure ventilated, made sure everything was okay, fire was out, before the engine from the road that responded, due to having personnel there, just out of the random, they're not stationed there yet. They had them canceled and had everything handled before the engine showed its face over there. In my mind, if that had been a full-blown fire with entrapment, that person would have died. To me, that's unacceptable. I know for a fact that engine that's going to West Union, they're gonna run regionally. They're not gonna just run Walhalla calls. So if they run out of West Union and they go to 14, or a fire alarm and picket post way near the Salem line, and you get a cardiac arrest right outside this district, there's nobody else to respond except the truck all the way to camp. It's not what's best for the public at all, in no shape, form, or fashion. And the people that they say they have are up at Holly Department right now because the bridge is out on 76. When they move these folks, yeah, they got firemen up there. That's on the grant right now. What happens when the grant runs out?
Well, I don't know this for sure, and there's somebody else to check, but they told me they were trained on the grant, but they're on the payroll of the county. So the grant trained them, and
Fair.
they said it was, I think the amount was $80,000 a fireman, something like that. And,
It is a very good amount, and they
It's
got it.
expensive.
They got it due to the bridge because of fire services being cut off to that part of the county.
I believe they're on county payroll now. The grant.
But for them to say they don't have money to give us for the fire contract, how are they paying for those people? And how are they gonna add people at Camp Road? Because they're gonna have to, they don't have that many people over there right now. So there's money there. They can say they don't have it all day long. There's money there. It's just the fact of whether you wanna give it to us or not. And I agree 100% with what he's saying. I think that sit down needs to take place. Because there's good men that are sitting in that building over there wondering if they're gonna have a job next year. And they don't deserve that because they put in their heart and soul to this city, and they have showed up every time those bells have gone off to fight fire in this county and out of this county, city and out of this city. And that's what Mr. John said about going to Salem, going to Kiwi Key, and going all that. We absolutely need to do that. Because if you ever been in a structure fire and had been entrapped and not had somebody come help you, that's when we go. We help our brothers. We don't believe in sitting back and letting something bad happen to people just because it ain't our problem. We're mutual aid all over this county. We help each other out. But when we help them, they come help us. It's making little deposits. They come in full force to help us. We had a structure fire right over here the other day. Showed up, county, volunteers, everybody. They come to help us. But the reason they come to help us is because we come to help them. We are a brotherhood in the fire service. We help everybody. And if we look brotherhood, you might as well shut the doors. It's hard enough to find firemen right now. Lord knows, like Austin has said, we get comp time. We don't get overtime for anything. We come back to these trainings. We go to everything that's required of us. Most of the time out of it. The only time we get is when we work on shift over there. We do it because we love the people of the city, helping our community, and we love what we do. We don't do it for the money, because the Lord knows all of us have got a second part-time job, third job, 5 jobs. We've got everything. We cannot afford to have a life that's a decently comfortable life without having a job. But we do it because we love this town and the people in it. We really, I understand our number one priority, and our number one priority has always been the city, the citizens inside this city. We always leave somebody to protect the city. Usually 2 people. It depends on if we're 3 people a shift or 2 people a shift that day. We always leave 1 to 2 personnel in this city, no matter where an engine goes in this camp, back somebody up. So the city's always protected. And we come back on our days off to help protect this city. But if people's jobs get cut, you're not going to see them show up for hardly anything. because we're gonna have lost our faith in what we believe in. And honestly, we're gonna feel like we don't matter. I'm just being transparent. Because after all we've put in, and these guys, and they have just been hired, but they have been in training since the day they started. The day they started, they've been in training. If they lose their job after all they've been through for free, I say for free, they got comp time. All they have been through that did not have them immediate compensation. And we're telling them, well, you're not gonna have a job tomorrow. I understand that it doesn't sound normal to sit down with county council, but I agree with that man saying, if you guys don't do that, that's almost a smart face. Because I know that there can be a solution reached, or something can come out of it, but you gotta try. Whatever y'all do from here on out, it's up to y'all, but I want y'all to, everybody that's over there in that building has been here for this town, and will continue to be here for this town. But we gotta feel like we're somewhat appreciated. Because if you don't, you'll lose a lot of good men over there, and let me tell you, if you ever get back where you get 3 men a shift, good luck hiring them. Because it'll word get out in the fire service that you laid off 3 of them, won't nobody come to work for Walhalla. I've been in the fire service 9 years, not nearly as long as Captain or Chief Sanford, but I know well enough to know where it gets around real quick and who will work for who. And you also got folks sitting in that building who are EMTs. People that are coming out of class, just about every shift will be stocked full of EMTs by the time they get done last weekends in a week. That's what's best for the citizens. That's what's best for the people on Avalon Drive. That's what's best for the people on the Coffee Road. That's what's best for all of them. And yes, we don't need to be worried about outside the city as much as in the city. But if that was your family, or if that was your family we was responding to, or your house we was responding to, or a rental house that we would do the same that we would outside the city as in the city. And that's the way we do it every day. Because that city is our main focus, but our main focus is saving lives and protecting property. That's what firemen live by, saving lives. You always save life first, protect property second. And that's what all of us signed up to do. And I can't say that in good conscience I can sit in that station over there and listen to somebody go into cardiac arrest on Avalon Drive and not go to it. Because that's somebody's life you play. It ain't flowers downtown. It ain't a sidewalk. It's somebody. And when we forget what matters, that's when we've got a problem.
That's right.
That's all I have to say. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ben.
Just wanted to acknowledge your, sir, I want to acknowledge your passion and that we're with you.
Yes.
We hear you and we see you. You are valued in the whole department. And I think it goes back to, and unfortunately, previous leadership has, slept in communication.
I agree.
And as my chair here has accompanied me at the fire department, we've gone inside the burning building. Because we empathize.
I was there.
Yes, sir. And my chair, who is currently in public safety, followed that lead with the previous chief.
Yes.
So I just acknowledge that to say that this is a big problem that we are facing, that I have to, navigate, and it's not easy.
I understand.
But,
I just want to make sure, along with Mr. Chastain,
Yes.
I'll be sure that you guys know what the guys over there are feeling, because those are a good group of folks over there. I'd put them up against anybody in this county.
you guys are the best in town, and the county.
They are the best of the best, and
Yes.
they do their job every day. They come in and they leave at 8 o'clock the next morning. If that means being up 24 hours, they're up 24 hours. They're good, and they deserve a fair shake.
I want to say, thank you, Ms. Melendez, this comment. Thank you for your service. You guys are heroes. There's no
We appreciate
question
it.
in my mind on that. We know that. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your.
I guess that's it. Oh, Megan, I'm sorry. Come on, Megan.
Hi everyone, for those who know me, my name is Megan. I want to give a little bit of background about myself. I moved to the area about 3 years ago. Prior to that, I lived in North Georgia, where I served as the Soul County Commissioner's Administrative Assistant. I did anything from budgets, payroll, accounts receivable. I understand the budgeting is what I'm trying to say. Since moving to Oconee County, I volunteer in capacity outside of Walhalla for Rescue 1, so I also understand the emergency services side of it. I have now served underneath 2 different chiefs, including Chief Sanford while he's been interim chief for 7 months, as well as our current chief since February. I now serve and have as the administrative assistant since the end of October in 2023, and most recently has been added my role as codes enforcement for the city of Walhalla. Recently, we came to discover that the county contract would not be renewed. We did not learn this through leadership, but through the means of Facebook from a post created by a local radio station. This was disheartening to find out this information in this manner, to say the least. But we've all come to terms with this. The fire department have been through quite a bit this past year, with the reign of the previous administration and actions, causing abrupt changes in leadership. We went through a hiatus period of not knowing who our next chief would be, a nerve-wracking waiting game in itself. When Richard accepted his new position as chief, and might I add, a very well-deserved position. The department felt a breath of fresh air. After feeling as if we were underwater for such a long time, within weeks, we had more applications than we had openings. All due to the fact those individuals were wanting to work for Chief Sanford. When I willingly say we would all follow him off the edge of a cliff, that's not an exaggeration at all. This entire department means it from the bottom of their hearts when we all say. We work at this city not for the pay, as Seneca pays almost double what our fire department makes. Westminster pays about 2/3 more than what Walhalla pays. I can honestly say that I've never worked with a more heartfelt, hardworking, caring group of people who devote their lives day in and day out to this department. This job description of everyone here doesn't always fit into the confines of what we paper when we apply to this job. The names firefighter and lifesaver are quite frankly an understatement for the people that I work with. From risking their own lives to save others, running calls from fires to medical, lift assists, and more, the men and women of this department far surpass what was expected of other departments. We have employees who do everything from fixing vehicles, lighting vehicles, building offices within our building, repairing the building, and much, much more, saving the city thousands, if not hundreds of thousands during their time of employment. By cutting the number of employees, you're asking the employees to make life-ending or life-saving decisions, which having 2 men on shift, if we abide by NFPA standards with the 2 in, 2 out rule, you are asking these 2 men on shift to stand outside and watch someone possibly burn alive in a home, until another person arrives to pump the truck outside so that they can have someone to possibly come in and save them if a mayday is issued. You ask to live with the fact that someone may not have lived because proper 3-man CPR could not be given. You ask people of the outliers of the city, people whom you are asking to wait minutes longer to receive care from someone coming from West or Camp Road. Is this something that you could live with yourself? Would you be able to stand with the fact that your child, significant other, a parent, a family member could have lived because Walhalla Fire Department could have been there 4 to 10 minutes sooner? Renewing the contract would mitigate the majority of the risk of these issues. Description, this also speaks for my position as well. My administrative duties also into the categories of social media specialist, technology liaison, technical support, IT, grant writer, receptionist, photographer, videographer, report writer, community outreach. I've assisted with creating multiple budgets, an occasional call runner, and even more, as I'm EMR certified myself. Since becoming full-time and enforcing, I've had many citizens come to me expressing their gratitude that someone is finally enforcing the codes for the city, allowing the city to become the beautiful place that it deserves to be. Their neighbor has finally cleaned up their yard, bettering the community and everyone in it. No single person at this department does just what they are asked. We are all more valuable than any dollar amount we place on an employee.
It's okay, take your time.
Everyone at this department gives far more than any job description that I could ever place onto a sheet of paper. All we are asking is for the opportunity for City Council to reach out directly to County Council, seeing if there is some way to repair this contract or create a new. I'm here to urge you as a team, as part of the Walhalla family, as residents, as parents, as family members, and as human beings, to reach out to the Oconee County Council to see if the discussion is still open. Understand that these are people and not just numbers on a page that can be cut. People who not only have families and need jobs, but people that actually want to work for the city of Walhalla in this department. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anyone else, Charlie?
Thank you for talking to us tonight. My name's Charlie Bissage. I have been with the city for 23 years in the fire department. I have been a firefighter for 28 years. I'm probably as close to a subject matter expert of the needs of that fire department as anybody you're gonna find. I started before there were county contracts, before Oconee Emergency Services was a pipe dream. It used to be rural fire, the EMA office, and the volunteers. And now the county's got in the fire business, and I guess they're trying to run everybody else out of it. A little bit of history of time as a fireman in Walhalla. I have fire within 1/2 mile of Lake Joe Cassie. I have also fought fire on the shores of Lake Hartwell, on the shores of QE, and everywhere in between. I don't think Oconee County realizes how much this department, much like this city, touches this county. One thing to consider, most of their county administrative buildings, DSS office, school district, are all located in our fire district inside this city. That's worth something. 3 people on a shift, you're not gonna do the job safe. You have 3 people on the shift. If we get told we'll lift assist, most of the people that need lift assist are of a larger variety. One ain't gonna pick somebody up by themselves, not safely for the patient or us. And that is just about a daily job. Somebody's needing to lift up. And they deserve it. They're paying the taxpayer dollar to get it. One man on a shift ain't gonna be able to do it. He's gonna have to call help. That's gonna add to either comp time, or it's gonna add to, we're gonna have to call in outside resources. And we're gonna be bothering them and apprehending them from doing what they're doing out in the county. Cardiac arrest. I don't know how many of you have ever worked a cardiac arrest, seen a cardiac arrest, or even know much about a cardiac arrest. You better have 2 people there, because one won't do it by itself. It's not an easy job. Now they're teaching pit crews CPR to us, so we don't wear out as fast. And that requires 5 people. And we're gonna be doing that same job. Now two men, I say that men, there's 3 people working on the shift. That gives the ability to keep 2 men at that station at all times. Because we gotta take time. I can tell you after 23 years, you might as well go, you could have fought a war in Iraq and come out with PTSD just as bad as you are doing this job. We are getting multiple calls. Mr. Johns, you remember a couple of weeks ago, the wreck up there at the old gun shop building where you work at currently, right? I was on a medical call on high apartments on the other end of the city when that call came out. Luckily, I had 3 people on shift with me, and I had 2 more come back in that we desperately needed to control and get that scene executed like we had. If that had been a one-man show, I'd have been sitting in Highland Glen, waiting on the EMS to get there instead of being able to break away because I had a second person that could stay with the patient. Once we do patient care, it don't matter what happens. We're not allowed to leave. If we leave, then we are up for lawsuit, as will the city be up for lawsuit for requesting us to do that. Once we establish, until we get a level higher than us, or equal to us, we cannot leave that scene. If somebody's having a medical emergency or something going on, and we're taking care of them, at City Hall, we can't leave until we're relieved. Having people will enable us to be able to have one to be able to break away in most circumstances. And that won't even be all. We had multiple structure fires at one time inside the city. Lake Jamaica, it wasn't in the city, but that same day, those same conditions that made Lake Jamaica blow up like it did were going on back in this city. And we could very well have the same thing. And we would not have federal government resources coming to help us out that day. Inside the city, waiting for state forestry, which is a land reduction. And mutual aid agreements. Mutual aid. I can think of 4 structure fires that I've personally run on my shift this year. One of them was a fatal fire. The people, if we don't have mutual aid agreements, we don't have help. You get all 9 of us together, we're having a meeting at the station. Could we maybe handle a minor structure fire? Yeah. A minor one. If you're talking like the Presbyterian Church a few years back, you're going to be calling in half of Oconee County, Seneca, Westminster, anything and everybody you can get. It's a manpower game. And we need to maintain people at a bare minimum. I don't know how to tell you to do that. I'm not the money making decision making person. That's y'all. I'm just a firefighter. I'm sure it may say it's chief, but in my heart I'm still just a firefighter. I'm over training, I'm over operations, the day-to-day, how we do the fire station. And I invite any one of y'all, anybody in this room, if you want to see what we do on a day-to-day basis, stop by that station. Our guys will show y'all. And we do it, and we do a thankless job, so y'all don't have to. Please don't put us in danger. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was there anybody else? Jeff, did you want to have anything?
I appreciate everything that the fire service has done, as far as the EMS side, as far as my wife, after we came home from Ireland. They've been fantastic and responded within like a couple, whatever we needed. They've been amazing. You'll be happy.
So Kenny, let's do everything we can to make sure that you keep on being able to do it.
We're gonna work it out. We'll work it out.
I don't think you are.
All right, thank you, Mayor, for giving us that time. Appreciate it.
Let's spend.
I want to thank each of you for being here tonight because I have learned a lot. I've learned, I was in healthcare for probably 20-something years and worked the ER part of that time. But I understand what you're saying. I understand between life and death. I do. But I want you guys to understand that there's not a person around this table that doesn't have heart for the city residents and for the people on the outside, or for that matter, the people in the whole county. We do care from the bottom of our hearts. This loss of the contract has happened, and every one of us around this table is trying our best to figure out how to make up for that. I asked myself personally to the county administrator, was there any way? And was told no, not at this point. So I'm telling you, we're trying. Let us try, okay?
Can I say something on that, please? You said you knew as far as who told you no,
Amanda Brock,
and who was that?
county administrator.
Okay. I don't know a lot about the politics side of it, but as a council, from what I'm seeing and learning, you all talk and collaborate together to come up with a solution together, and then you vote upon it. Why are we taking answers from one person and sitting down and having a meeting with them and everyone working together?
Mr. Chastain, the county chairman, Durham, has told me the same thing on several occasions, so it's,
I don't like how it all works, but it just kind of gives me a little bit of clarification.
There's no
Thank you.
collaboration. It's a straight out, point out, transparent answer that she gave me. Not at this point.
We tried.
We're trying.
Two things.
Thank
Don't think we're sitting here on our laurels, because we're not.
yeah, this stuff that we're getting now, from the county giving us what they let us use, and letting us continue to be ladder cup. That's the outgrowth of those discussions that we've all been having.
The two things you don't want to see made, that's politics and sausage. Trust me.
Can I have a question for you? Can you give us some advice for those who, we're trying to collaborate and communicate, because that seems to be not as effective in this body of government. So can you give us an advice on what could be effective for this body to collaborate? Because it's not as easy as you pointed out. I like the idea though, but that doesn't really happen.
Oh, it's easy.
So let's give us some advice.
Well, if y'all would talk, instead of just saying, oh, they said no, talk to each other.
So
Sit down like he just suggested and talk with one another.
well, sorry, sir, I'm referring to this body only.
This body only,
Yeah.
I don't have a suggestion for this body. My suggestion
But
is,
what I hear you say is communication.
yes.
Okay, good. That's what we need.
Also, y'all say that y'all know what the problem is. Okay? I agree, you were at the burn building. You were at the burn building.
For 3 years.
I understand.
Yes, sir.
But
I
how
wanna
many
hear
of,
your
I
thoughts.
just, how many of you know what we go through on a daily basis?
Is that a
Sit
question you're
at this
asking
table.
for everyone?
Everybody at this table, how many of you
You
know what
just
we go through?
explained it. I mean, you did.
I did, I just explained. But here's the problem. Okay, y'all say, he's telling you right here, there is an option he's got on the table. If it don't work, it don't work. See, you're shaking your head, but you don't know.
I do know.
No, you
Oh,
don't.
no.
You
Okay.
don't know the man.
Let him ask.
We don't know the
You
man.
don't know the man.
The
I
man.
know the man.
Okay.
We've asked.
Thank you, Chair, but
I think that's.
I thought I was just making it up, but thank you.
Thank you.
I beg to differ, but
I do
I'm
not.
seeing you're passionate. Thank you.
It doesn't have to be, but King, we're working on it, trust me, we're working on it. We're working on it.
Now, let's go on into, let's move on into general government. Ms. Myers.
Yes.
Let's see if we can talk about office rental.
The first item is office rental. I received a request from a who works for EPA. Due to the going back to the office requirement, federal government, they are having to find an office instead of having remote work. Her office would be in Atlanta. They are considering offices as long as it's not within their home. We do have a vacant office on the second floor of the Earl House, 105 West South Broad. And she inquired on whether or not we would consider renting that office space to her and receive a stipend from the EPA for her to have that office space. There is not a set amount. It would be us proposing an amount we agreed, and then the EPA would have to, or her office would have to approve that and move forward. It would include the office space, a desk, and be able to use the Wi-Fi there. It would be the only, for none of us. So I bring that to y'all to consider and to give direction on whether or not I can, provide a possible rent number to her, and she can confirm with her on whether or not they would accept it or not.
Do we know what the going rate is for?
She has heard anywhere from 300 to 500, or excuse me, I believe she said 200 to 500, and I was going to propose around 3. But leave it to y'all.
I can make a motion for that.
I've told you, they can't fix this. Don't have a problem with that.
How long will this be again?
Ongoing, but we would be able to terminate with a 60-day notice.
And we don't need this office.
We are not using this office and do not foresee anyone coming in to use that office.
Okay. So it allows us to have funding for an empty space, whereas we would have none otherwise.
Correct. Assuming they approve it.
All right, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second, and the motion, Mr. Holliday, is that we, Ms. Myers to explore the possibilities and her recommended amount of $300, is that where we're at? Okay. Is there any discussion? Ms. Bunning? Mr. King?
I'm sorry, it took me a little bit from what we went through to focus in, where is the office?
It is upstairs in the Earl House,
Okay,
so Kaylee's old office not being used.
okay. Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Have anything further?
I'm sorry, Mayor. I had to take care of a call from my daughter, but everything's taken care of.
Okay, good. The motion on the floor right now is that we allow a lady who is working remotely for the EPA to rent one of the vacant offices at the Earl House, allow Ms. Marsh to pursue an agreement on that for $300 a month to rent one of the vacant offices. We don't anticipate anyone using it, and we don't know when this will come in, but they will be using the vacant space.
Okay, yeah, sure. And just for clarity, EPA's environmental protection agency, I think. Yeah, thank you.
Anything? Mr. Johns?
No further comment.
All in favor of this, raise your hand. Opposed? All right. Now, for the moment we've been waiting for. The audit presentation, you've been as welcome in a lot of places, right? So, we want to hear what you guys say. This-
How are you doing?
Mine-
This is our first year, so it's all new faces.
Budget adopted May 16, 2023, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the top, we have lots of questions.
No, I hope I have the answer for you. We, as you said, unfortunately, you're finishing up 25, presenting 24, but we have it on the schedule to be in much earlier this year, so hopefully I'll be presenting months earlier than I did at this point. So it gives you a little fresher financials to look at. As I said, this is our first year on the audit, and as you're probably aware with previous audits, and we look over your financial processes, just making sure you have good control in place, making sure there's not anything that would cause a misstatement on the financials that you're looking at. I think you have a small organization, so there's always segregation issues, meaning one person doing multiple jobs. However, you outsource with Jason's firm. We recommend that to a lot of municipalities. That just really gives you an extra control there, a backup for reconciling things, making sure there's no issues, and that seems to be working really well. So our recommendation would be to continue that process, because it's much more expensive to train a full-time person with benefits and health insurance and all that, as it is to just outsource it. You get a better deal outsourcing it. So we have a lot of audit clients that do that. So we issued an unmodified opinion. That's an opinion, basically. That's the one you want, with no findings. Now, no findings. We didn't see anything that, for instance, bank reconciliations they were all reconciled on time. We didn't see any good payroll. So when I say no findings, that doesn't mean that the numbers are perfect, and I'll go over those with you, but all the numbers are materially correct, meaning you can rely on these numbers. So what I do, you have your audit before you, but also I like trends, so you can see what the trend line. So I gave you this handout here, and these numbers, we audited 24, and they'll bring back to your audit report, but it just an opportunity to see what the last 4 years look like. So when you're making these decisions, you can kind of see what the trend line is. And so the way I have this first page broken out, this is your governmental funds. So this would not include water and sewer. These are your governmental funds. And this just shows revenues and expenditures and what your operating income is. And so if you look at your audit report, you're going to see that your change in fund balance was a positive $4 million. However, when you look at this report here, you had close to $6 million in grants, $5.5 million for the community grant, and $500,000 for the Greenway project. I moved those numbers down below because I want to see at the top what you're receiving in operating revenues and what it takes to operate the town, the city here. And then you'll see in 2024, that was a bracket of $731,000. So what I'm seeing is, when you look at your finances, operating revenues brought in was $4.3 million, and it took $5 million to operate this city. Now, that was expected, because when you go back to your budget, which is the far right column here, you'll see your revenues and expenditures, and you were budgeting a $942,000 operating loss, and you were gonna transfer some funds in from water and sewer to help offset that loss. So that's exactly what happened. My point I'm just making is that you are running a deficit, and you're relying on your water and sewer profits to help. The problem was, your water and sewer profits aren't enough to offset that deficit, which I'll show you. I know that's a lot of information I'm kind of throwing at you there, but I'm just wanting to point out, there's a lot of municipalities use the profits of enterprise fund, water, sewer, electric, to offset some of the general fund costs. That's a normal practice, because what they're doing is they're saying we're using some of the profits from the enterprise fund to help try to lower property taxes, things like that, and budget, and have a balanced budget on the general fund. In your case, in 2024, the water and sewer didn't produce enough profits to offset the loss on the general fund. And so if you, back to this first page, but if you happen to just flip to the second page, this is your water and sewer fund. And you will see, if you look at 23 and 24, you go back to that right there in the middle says operating income. You see, your operating income is about $645,000 with water and sewer. Before you paid any, before you had any capital outlay, before you paid any debt service, it generated $645,000, but transferred $937,000 to the general fund. So you got about a $300,000 buffer there. So I'm just pointing all that out to just say that as you're working through your 26 budget, I don't know how 25 went. For 24, the combination of water and sewer and the governmental funds, it didn't cash flow. You used more cash than you brought in, so you had to dip into reserves for 24. Now, the good news for that, and I'm jumping around it, but I'll come back to a few things here, but the good news for that is your general fund has reserves. You've done a good job historically, and this is our first year, but your general fund has some cash reserves. With that being said, you obviously don't want to be burning through your reserves every year. You want to balance the budget. So the town's not in some dire straits, so don't get me wrong. But you do want to try to get your budget balanced. And I'm just doing what you said, doing that's losing a contract, that's very difficult. I'm telling you, you still balance it. And the contract was in here when it wasn't balanced. So that's going to be very difficult for you. But overall, a lot of municipalities, 20, 21, 22, 23, relied on a lot of federal grants. And those are drying up. Those are going away. And I'm seeing with a lot of June 30, 24 municipalities. Revenues, and your revenues are going up, meaning if you look, your taxes are up a little, your license and permits are up, your fines and forfeitures are up. That intergovernmental is grants, so that's why that's down. But your core numbers are up. I mean, so business is still happening. The problem is what you're facing, everyone is facing, the cost of business is going up faster than the revenues are going up. Walhalla's facing what I see. I was talking with Liberty, I was talking with the city of Lawrence. All of these municipalities are doing the same thing. The revenues are not going up as fast as the cost of business is going up. Labor costs have gone way up. Costs are going way up. As you know, with the fire department, you go finance a fire truck. There's a $1 million minimum right there. And so obviously we're just an auditor. I'm going to tell you how to spend the money, what to spend your money on. I'm just pointing out what is you already know through your budget meetings, and it's tough decisions to try to get your budget balanced. Again, thankfully you have resources. You just don't want to continue to go through this. So overall, at the bottom, and I didn't see any. By the way, I didn't see when we're doing an audit. I didn't see anything like there's some that were inappropriate. And it's normal labor costs, material costs, it's insurance. All of these things just keep going up. And if you look down here at the bottom,
What page, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry, on the very first page.
First page.
Yes. Just kind of showing you where you're spending your money in the governmental funds. 67.5 cents a dollar spent is going to labor and benefits. That is not unusual. I see that pretty much across the board when I'm with municipalities in that 60 to 75 range. That's where I'm seeing salaries and benefits. And then that's probably the biggest expenditure. And then maintenance, fuel costs, insurance, utilities, and they've been fairly consistent over the years, but they're going up. My point on as far as looking at an audit, I mean, there's nothing that it's just tough decisions. I mean, it would be nice to say we spent $1 million on this and we didn't need it, and that would be the way we cut. I didn't see anything like that, so it makes it more difficult.
If I understand you correctly, that's 67.0% or the 65.5%. That's the bulk of paying salaries, which is people, and the benefits, which comes with insurance.
And retirement. And retirement, you know, anytime you have an employee, you're basically paying about 50% more than, and if you pay them $1, you're paying another 50 cents, and it's costing you $1.50.
Just to clarify one thing also.
Yes.
In looking at the 2023-2024 budget that we're looking at now, and I don't think that the 2024-2025 will be much different. You guys are so simple. But you didn't see anything in it that, as you look for things that would catch your eye in terms of the cost to cut, you didn't see things that were outside the ordinary beyond salaries and normal utility costs.
No.
Any big projects in there we're gonna cut, or any?
Well, most of your big projects, you're getting grant funding for. So you're getting outsized. That's why I did the way I did, because all of that activity below the operating line, most of those are grant dollars coming in to pay for those projects. So what I was trying to do was show you just on the everyday, and unfortunately, I mean, you're not, like I said, I wish there was $1 million I could point to and say, you know, you should cut this, but it's just normal operating expenditures. So to answer your question, no, I didn't see anything, and again, I can't tell you how to run your city, but what you're spending is what I see with every municipality that we are, the same expenditures at basically the same percentages, because it takes the same. I mean, you have a police force, you have a fire department, you have admin, you have some codes, anything like that. I mean, it's very labor intensive, and then after that, it drops down to like maintenance, insurance, fuel, those kind of things. So you're very much in line with all the other municipalities, and we handle about 120 or so audits a year. So you're very much in line with others that we're seeing. But to answer your question, yeah, down below you can see the activity below. You've got the community grant, which is a great grant for your community center, and then you had capital outlay, which again, some of those proceeds from the community grant and Greenway project paying for those capital outlays, as well as some debt service. So overall, when you look at your financials, it will look like you had a positive change in fund balance of over $4 million, which is great. I was just pointing out that some of it's restricted dollars that you don't just get to use for free. And so on the second page, I'll kind of is the same sort of the same setup, but it's just your water and sewer, where you can see the same thing. The water and sewer, the biggest change there from 23 to 24 was an increase in salaries and benefits of about $500,000. So the salaries and benefits were way up. I think you maybe hired a couple, if I remember correctly, in the water and sewer. I know you're kind of thinking back a couple of years now, but that was your biggest one. So your operating income from 23 to 24 dropped. You can see from 1.4 million to 644,000. You really, to be able to give that $900,000 transfer to the general fund, water and sewer needs to be more than line with financials. So I'm sure when you're and you budgeted a little bit higher. You budgeted more like a $1.2 million operating income, and then that covers the debt load. And that's the problem. When you look at the water and sewer fund as a standalone when you had to transfer in, it didn't cash flow by $600,000. So, and now on the flip side, the general fund did cash flow when you add the transfer. So, apart from those, the general fund didn't cash flow, apart from transfer, the water sewer fund did cash flow. And that's, so, as you're thinking through your budget, that's ultimately what I would be looking at is how are you gonna get this to be balanced without having to dip into the reserves? And it might not be, that might be a challenge this year. You may have, sometimes you do have to just say, we gotta make some changes, we can't make that many, so we're expecting to dip into the reserves. And I see municipalities doing that sometimes.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that.
Me neither, I mean, because, and if you flip one more page, this is your balance sheet for the general, and you can see,
Page 3?
I'm sorry,
Oh, yeah, page
third page, yes. You can see where your unrestricted cash balance dropped $2 million last year. Because you didn't cash flow and you put some into capital reserves. So your cash already dropped from $7 million to $5 million. Now your restricted cash went way up because grant dollars is sitting in there to be spent for the community project and the Greenway project. But overall, with that being said, if you look at the very bottom there, that COH months, you do have 12 months of operating cash on hand. So a huge sign of financial strength. That is like the best number. If I can point a number out, that's a great number. But not if you spend $2 million. If you take $2 more million out again next year, that's going to drop. The GFOA, Governmental Functions Association, they recommend a minimum of 3 months. We recommend you want to maintain 6 months. Because as you know, property taxes, business license, you're going to run a deficit the first part of your fiscal year before all the business license, property taxes, all those things start collecting in the second half of the year. So when I say you have 12 months, well, at a minimum, you got to have half of that, 6 months, or you'll start running into cash flow issues.
Can you define CO?
Cash on hand.
Cash on hand.
Yes.
Cash on hand.
So what I hear you saying, and a couple of them stop here just to kind of underscore it. You're telling us that our cash on hand as of this audit
Yes.
is excellent, twice what
Excellent.
you recommend, 3 times.
That's
Okay,
excellent.
so that means the city's financially healthy.
Absolutely.
Now,
Yes. Yes.
The second part of this, though, I want to hit the year before, it was 18 months.
It was, and so.
It was 20 months before that, 18 months before. What really doesn't bother me, I mean, I'm okay, I think we're healthy too, but I don't like it dropping that much. So can you tell us a little bit why we suddenly dropped down
Well, it was, that
3%?
yeah, it was you didn't fund operations, and then you spent money, setting in cash for projects that were already in the books or projects that you were, so you spent $2.1 million on capital outlay. And I'm drawing a blank, I don't know if you can remember exactly what that was. In 24, I had it wrote down and I hid my little power, I'm sorry. But anyways, I can get that for you. You spent $2.1 million in capital outlay. You also had debt service. So between that and operating loss, that will eat up some of your cash. And then changes in your receivables, your working capital. That'll take some of your funding as well. But overall, it was just not funding operations and capital outlay.
So let me see if I understand what you're saying is that some of the funds that were budgeted and were there in 2023, fiscal year 2023, 22, 23, were not spent, but they were in 2024. It's fiscal year 23, 24, and that's what made the difference in
The reserves.
the reserves.
You definitely beat your reserves into 24, and that's why your cash balance has.
I just want to make sure I
And
understand that.
to make your point, Mayor, it dipped $2 million and it took 6 months of your cash on hand away. So you have a similar year, I might be back saying, well, now you got 6 months of cash on hand. Yeah, so that's back to your point of not wanting to dip into reserves. That's one of the reasons you want to keep you want to keep the city healthy, because sometimes things happen, like Hurricane Helene, where you have to spend a lot of money, and hopefully FEMA at some point will reimburse you some of that. But you want to have money for the first 6 months where you're running a deficit. You wanna have money for when a grant comes in to, we'll say, buy a fire truck, and you gotta put 20% down, type of thing. You wanna have some of those resources to be able to fund some of those grants. So 12 months old. And like I said, what we like to see is 6 months, but I really like to see it 12 months, you know? That's what I really like to see you stay at, because it just shows a good sign of financial health. And then the very least will be your balance sheet for the water and sewer. And now that one is not as healthy. As you can see, your cash did go up a little bit, but you only have $150,000 in unrestricted cash on the water and sewer fund. That's about half a month of cash on hand. So the problem with the water and sewer is, if it's not contributing to the general fund, it deserves. But it's contributing to the general fund, and the general fund needs to contribute to the general fund. So there's your dilemma. You know, just trying to balance those budgets so that the water and sewer fund can, because the water and sewer does need to build up some cash flow. It's weak on the cash. I mean, water and sewer, I mean, a pump, a pipe, or something like that, I mean, it could be $250,000 fairly quickly. So that would be, I don't know how to recommend, but trying to figure out a way to try to get some of your cash reserves built up on the water and sewer side. Because it needs, I don't know what 25 is looking like at this point, but that would be the recommendation, is trying to figure out a way to get some more cash reserves built up in the water and sewer fund, those two funds. But the debt service is pretty large on the water. So it's over $1 million a year in debt service. So
That never seems to be the kind of the elephant in the room about a lot of this.
it's especially the water sewer side. It's a huge debt load for the city. The general, most of the debt load on the general fund, I think, is more like capital leases. You got that pension on there when you're looking. Just to remind you, you don't pay any of that pension liability. I'm sure everybody's been told this a million times, but you know, the state's underfunded on our state retirement pension by about $22 or $23 billion. And so every contributor that's every participant in the retirement plan by the city of Walhalla is allocated an amount based on how many employees you have in the system. And that amount comes from Columbia, and that amount has to go on your balance sheet. The way you've paid that is, over the last 8 years, they've been increasing the match, employer match. I think it's went up probably 8% over the last 10 years or so. So I just want to, when you're looking at the financials, just know that that pension liability is not something that you're paying to. It's just something required to be on your balance sheet per GASB standards. That's probably more information you want to know about that pension, but just make sure we're looking at that. But to wrap it up, I'll just say this: the processes are in good order. They really are. I think the processes are good. And you do have a healthy general fund sheet. Need to figure out how to balance in some kind of combination the governmental fund or sewer, where even if the water and sewer is going to still supplement some of the general fund, but the water and sewer fund needs to do it in a manner that it can also build up some reserves. So it doesn't need to send everything to the general fund, or it'll burn through the remaining cash it has as well, which is not a lot. I'll take any questions on that.
No, that's a good point. I mean, that's the point we we're facing right now, in that we would have, the city, I don't know when, and I know most cities use their funds to fund operations, but your recommendation here is that we build up additional funds and cash on hand in ours. And the question that faces, I don't know how long it's been, I don't know a lot of the history of the budget for that fund in general, the enterprise fund, but that's the challenge we have right now. There, I think, 500,000, 550. This council is committed, kind of leaning off of that so we can build some reserves. But the problem is that you start looking at this blend, right? Because somebody that's going to play some role. So it's a matter, it's going to be slow build, but
it's kind of strong, so that's right, and it's, there's a, I don't envy you all as a gentleman.
What if we transfer some funds from our reserve to that reserve to build it up? Is that one option?
You could, because I don't know the history of this, but there is what they call a due-to-do fund. So at some point in history, it wasn't in 24, not 7 there, at some point historically, funds have been moved from the water fund to the general fund with, I guess, the expectation that the general fund would pay it back. And so there is an amount on there, and it's fairly large. I think it's around $5 or $6 million. And I don't know the history of that in previous years. But my point is, you can say, okay, we're going to have the general fund pay $250,000, what that number is, and pay back some of that water fund just to get a little bit of reserve in the water fund. So that is definitely an option.
I have a very elementary question, but what if we took like 0.5% of every dollar that came in for water and sewer and put that over there?
Yeah. And any kind of plan any kind of plan like that. I mean, I see a lot of municipalities come up with some type of plan like that that says, hey, we're gonna allocate this percentage or this dollar or something like that every month. We're gonna allocate. But the bigger question still comes down to trying to figure out how to balance all that at the same time and try to put some into reserve. So that's the difficult part. Yeah.
Just like a family budget.
That's right.
Any questions at this point, guys? Can we, Ms. Bunny?
The can for water and sewer.
She wouldn't know
What's the recommendation for cash on hand for
Well,
water and sewer?
It's like, I mean, 3 months would be what you like to get there. 3 months as a minimum. When you don't have but a half a month, I mean, I might start with maybe a smaller goal. Let's try to go to 2 months. Let's just try to get 2 months and then work from there. But ultimately, you really want to try to get 3 months on there. Just again, because timing, possible repairs that might pop, things like that can really hurt cash flow quickly. The good news with the water and sewer is you typically have your payments per month. So you're constantly sort of replenishing your bank account a little bit each month, where the general fund might have to wait 3, 4, 5 months. So maybe not quite as dire to have 6 months. So I would try to make that, work towards that.
So according to this, just to add on to what Jesse was saying, we have 154,120,
Remember, 6/30/24.
and that's half of a month, which is
Yes.
0.46.
Right.
So you're looking at just multiplying that to what could be possible in 3
Which
months
is,
minimum.
somewhere in 600,000 or 700,000, which seems like, such a huge number when you only have 150. So you just really got to mentally, and maybe what you said, just say, okay, we're gonna try to put $5 a month or whatever the number is to try to build that up. And it's always one of those 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You'll start building it up and, or something, yeah, like your family budget, as you said.
What, I've got to ask this, the banker in me wants to ask this, but what is Walhalla's net worth right now? I know you had it somewhere in one of the calculations.
Yeah, if
We
you
might
want,
need as well.
Assets minus liabilities.
yes, so that would basically be your net position. So if you looked at the net position of the water and sewer fund, it'd be 15.5 million. So that last sheet, you look there, it'd be 15.5 million. Now, you gotta remember, as a banker, a lot of that's in infrastructure, but it's still, the net worth would be basically your net position of 15.5 million. But on the general fund, it would be about 9.2 million.
24, 25 million.
For the combination, yes, sir.
Assets minus liabilities.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And other questions, anybody has this, jump in here, please. But I was looking at this figure, and you have, I think in the original article that we saw, it's a $1.4 million reduction in fund balance. And I sat down with our team here on the city side and just tried to find out, okay, now, exactly what does this mean? We don't have $1.4 million in our fund balance. So, obviously that terminology means something else, and I just kind of wonder exactly what does that terminology mean to you? I mean, to me, it's too black and white.
So it's, accounting, the best way, so as you know, your financial statements are based on GASB, which is Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And for those who are banking or have a small business, as you know, most of the time, you're gonna have a balance sheet, so shows your assets and liabilities, and you're gonna have an income statement, shows revenue. Well, with GASB 34, which is the reporting model that all municipalities have to report under, you essentially have two balance sheets and two income statements. And then you also have another balance sheet and income statement for the equity, for your enterprise fund. So when the 1.4 million negative that you're looking at is page 13, if anyone goes there, but it's the fund balance. So the fund balance is what you balance your budget on, meaning you don't record debt on the balance sheet, you don't record capital fixed assets on the balance sheet. This is just simply showing cash minus liabilities, and here's your fund balance. So your overall fund balance is 5.8 million, but the unassigned is a negative 1.4. And therefore that is back to what I said earlier, is the general fund owes the water fund approximately $6 million. There's a few things you can do with that. You can, as a council, say, does the general fund really owe the water fund? Was that just a transfer over time historically and it got recorded as a due from? Meaning, is there a loan? Is there some kind of loan agreement that says this is how the general fund paid the water fund?
Okay, so that's making more sense. What you're saying basically is there's a $6 million debt that's kind of a paper debt between the general fund and the
Water fund.
Water fund, and that $6 million now
Would be
minus 1.4.
That's right, you'd be more, instead of negative 1.4, positive 4.5.
Okay, so that doesn't have any real practical effect.
No, I mean, when you look, it's what you said earlier, when you look at the general fund and water and sewer as a combined fund, all that, you're at $25 million, is basically what the net worth is, you would say.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, 25 million, not, and the negative 1.4 million takes into account the $6 million debt from the city to the enterprise fund on paper, so the practical effect has not seen anything. Okay.
That's correct, yes.
I've tried to figure that out.
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
while, since I
And
first
that's
saw this.
something that the council can look at and say, and that's a decision you can make. Is there any need to keep recording that? Maybe there is. Maybe you're gonna say, look, I want the general fund to pay the water fund back. Or maybe it could have been at some point in the past, it was recorded incorrectly. I mean, I'm talking not this past year, years ago. So that could be, it's just on paper. But does the general fund actually want to pay that money back to the water? If the answer is no, or only a percentage of it, then it might be a good idea to reduce it. But you think the general fund is really going to pay the water fund back of that $6
So that $1.4 million negative drop in fund balance turned a lot of our heads, and we were kind of trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
It's only on paper, doesn't it?
that's
Well, your figures really highlighted the practical issue with our city. It's something to sit here and listen to. You're just looking at the figures, and you are coloring, you know the city. You are coloring it, and when you pointed out that on that last page going on with our utility department, and that's exactly what we see. We're seeing they're just barely surviving, just barely. And we look at the general fund, and it's like, what's got this money? And you said it, knew it, but it's because we're taking it from water and sticking it in the general fund. Makes the general fund look really great, but it's water money. And for you to say, well, you're $6 million general fund in debt to the water, we know it, because we live it. So I commend you. Thank you for breaking it down that succinctly and clearly.
Thank you very much for this audit report. Does anyone have any more questions, comments?
Just to make sure I understand, we're financially healthy and cash on hands? All of this,
general fund, water fund could use some help.
The water fund,
Yeah.
yes.
which is in the reserve.
And the challenge is that like most cities, we use utility funds to fund general operations, part of them. But the downside of that right now is that our cash on hand is about $150,000. Ideally, we want it to be around $600,000. Right, is that right?
That's good, that is a good goal to shoot for. Yes,
Okay.
600,000,
And we
yes.
do have to remember that this is not the audit of the fiscal year that we're in now. It was the one that ended in July 24, or June 30th of 24.
Well, I suspect the budget we enacted will, hope it shows improvements. I'm not scared of this one, it's, we pronounce the city in good financial shape and fiscal health, except for the area that we know we need to correct.
Hopefully your cash account hasn't,
Yeah,
kept shrinking, so.
you earned your money. We're part of the budget was good.
Yes, and another, just for clarity, what is the due to do, or mention something about that?
So that's just when, that's.
Due to do, how do you say it?
Due from. Basically, I'm taking money from one fund, so it's due back to them, or due from them. So like the water fund is due money from the general fund, or the general fund, that's just, but basically, it's like you owe me some money. Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
but
you
that
pay
could
me
be
some
done
money.
internally and figure out if there was some sort of policy or some sort of,
Yeah, and it's good to create that policy, you know, it's,
if it hasn't
If you
been
can
historically, you're saying you should probably consider.
right, and really, when you're working on your budget, that's part of that time to do that, because essentially, you don't want to take from the water and sewer fund unless it was budgeted to do so. So otherwise, you can come back and do an amended budget to take that money. You don't wanna just say, open a bank account, let's just go take from it. You wanna, as a council, say, we budget, like you did that in the 24 budget, you budgeted to transfer money over from the water and sewer.
About how much was transferred over in the year you looked at?
About 937,000.
937,000.
Yes, sir.
See, I believe we budgeted for 550,000.
Oh, 1.267 million. You budgeted 1.267 million. Yes, sir.
From that year, we
Yes.
budgeted wow.
And it was 937,000. Transfer.
So it's
But
$300,000 less.
we
Yes,
1.26 million?
yes, sir.
Wow. I never saw that budget.
You on council then?
No, I didn't vote for it, thank
I
God.
pulled that one off your website, by the way.
That's okay. Thank you. Does anyone have any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, have a good night.
Thank you very much. Anyone?
Mr. White is here as well, if there's any additional.
Is he here?
Joe, okay, any questions back in the book, or you want me to?
I don't. I thank you for your work. Does anyone have any questions?
If you do, let me know, I'm accessible on phone, so let me know if you have any questions later.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks all.
All right, about a 5-minute break, and then I'm going to pass the gavel at that point, Finance Committee Chair, Mr. Josh Holliday, who will go over,